All right. Hello and welcome to the live show for the House Up Book Club pick for March, which was The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang. Do either of you have a copy?
No.
Is in case anyone, I mean, hopefully most of you are familiar in the chat if you are here, but this is a self-published fantasy novel. So all of us wrote it on ebook or audio, basically. But yeah, it's a standalone, self-published high fantasy. Okay, we'll talk about that. So first, we're gonna go around and say what our star rating was for this. Also, tragically, Mari, who's usually our fearless leader, cannot join us live because she's currently in a Benadryl haze. So everyone say hi to Mari in the chat. So forgive me for maybe not having good leadership skills. I didn't know a little earlier today. But yeah, just what was general star rating. For me, I'm not quite sure. I think I'm going between like a 3 and a 3.5, maybe. There's parts of it that towards the end especially that push it up for me, but I think the more we talk about it, the more it might crumble. So let's check in at the end and see what our final score is. But right now I'm thinking it's like three-star range.
Fair. Hi, I'm Paige. And I would give it probably like a 2. Like if I'm feeling generous toward the end, I'm gonna give it a 2.5. But like you said, the end was good. Like I enjoyed the end of it, but there was too much before that for me to not take off some stars.
Hi, I'm Kayla, and I'm feeling like a 2.5, like right in the middle of both of them. So we'll see how this goes.
Apparently I was being really generous. We'll see. Yeah, there's definitely... Sorry, I just actually put my headphones in, so I don't know if my audio changed immensely because I forgot that I had to wear this. Yeah, I think there's definitely parts of it that make me want to rank it higher because there is a level of like potential, and maybe I'm just being generous. I don't know.
I'll say 3. I'll say 3 for now.
Okay,
I'll say 3.
thanks.
At least 3. Okay.
I don't know. There's parts of it that are 2, and then there's parts of it that are like 3 to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so I think the part that we all have struggled with probably the most, based on what we've talked about, is the world building. So yeah, what were your guys' thoughts on the world? And could you? My big question is, could you finish the world? Like, or not finish the world? I guess I can't speak. Can you picture the world? Sorry.
Go ahead,
Kayla
Paige.
said something. Yeah, I was gonna say Kayla said something before the live, which was basically like, why did you make the world so big if the story was gonna be so small? And I think that was exactly like the perfect way to describe my problem while reading this. Was there were so many interesting things about the world, but it felt like because the story was so insular, we weren't really given the opportunity to explore everything. So we were told what everything was. We were told all these different factions and like that they were at war, and that obviously there's propaganda. Like I liked the world building that we did get. It just felt like the story was too small for the world that she created it in, basically.
And that made it a lot of a chunky reading experience for me because I feel like I could have skimmed whole paragraphs and not missed a beat. Like, I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, so many terms and some terminology and stuff. And when you have a huge world like that you want to make, like, it sinks in the more that you explore that world, like physically, like in the story. And I just feel like, obviously that never happened. We didn't get off Ice Mountain. So I'm a little confused. I have conflicting thoughts. So
yeah. This is a part of a bigger world, apparently, which I didn't really know before I even tried to pick it up. And then I was like, what is this? But there's this, it seems like it's almost like science fantasy series that she was creating that was going to be like 9 books. Like, it was something wild that she started writing as a teenager, and has since stopped writing, and this was like a standalone part of it, but I would argue that it's like not quite a standalone based on how she wrote it. Like, I think it seems like it happened to get traction because of like the science self-published fiction fantasy, whatever, those awards that it won. But it seemed like it was definitely a thing that was written for the fans of that series as like a companion, because there were so many tidbits that I'm just like, there was so much info dumping. Like, I also had the ebook and couldn't physically easily, like, I didn't even know there was a glossary until Kayla told me, honestly.
Oh, I did not know
so
that.
I was
When I
like,
listening.
yeah, so I was like, all these words, I'm like, what are these words? Like, nothing is really explained. When things are explained, they're info dumped by another character to one of the characters to be like, here's what's going on. And you're like there was a whole thing at the beginning that was like, the history of the world, just like info dumped at you. And you're like, why are you doing this? And none of it was really particularly relevant. So yeah, there's just a lot of, Kayla at one point called the world very soupy. And I think that definitely describes it well. Like, I could not picture a lot of stuff. And were you guys also confused by like, what is this setting? Because it was like very feudal Japan, but then they were like, we have ambulances and com towers. And I'm like,
like, why wouldn't they be advanced too?
But
like,
but there's no guns, like, or there is guns actually. There's like guns attached to
Yeah, and the airplanes,
right,
whatever
but they
were
don't.
shooting people down with.
No one else has used guns because like they have these powers. Like, but it was just like, I don't even know why there was the inclusion of like ambulances and com towers and what for what.
Yeah.
What did that add? It just made it really weird. But I was like, I don't know where you are. Like, there's cars, maybe. Like, I can't picture anything.
I'm not gonna lie, my brain was going like wild. I don't know why I'm using my makeup brush. At one point, I thought that like the Whispering Blade was actually like that type of glass used back in the day, but it got like misconstrued in like their history tellings and stuff. But that didn't pan out the way that I thought it was going to. But like, just because of like the random technology, like you said, like I was very like, it was just very conflicting on both sides.
And it was just dropped in, like, because they still had like just like forges. Not that we don't have forges now, but there were so many things that were so like feudal Japan, fantasy, whatever. And then they'd be like, "Give me your comm device," and I'm like, "What?" Like this, I don't know. It just that felt like super messy, which again could probably tie into that greater world.
Yeah, I
don't
think
know
like
how.
I think part of it was like because the town they were in was like they very much like the way they're controlled by the emperor is like they're very much still back in the past. Like they don't accept any of the new technology that exists elsewhere. So I think like that was part of the reason where it was confusing for sure because I was like I don't understand anything that's happening.
Right, there's
but,
TVs like
there's like there's TV. That's a great point. The fact that they have television. So like. All of that was so confusing. And like you said, it didn't feel like a standalone either because of all of the tidbits that were put into it, where it felt like there was more to the story, but I didn't know what the more was because I was like going into it being like, oh, this is like just another story by itself versus like, I feel like I would have enjoyed it a lot more and probably understood half of the things that we're talking about a lot more if I had read something else from the series that potentially would have been more introductory. Like when they were saying like instead of saying minutes, they have their own word for that. Like all of that stuff felt kind of silly to me because it didn't feel real because everything felt like it was being told to me versus like me being in the world and understanding everything.
Yes. There's also like generally a lack of context clues. Like I think eventually as you were reading stuff, you got what they were talking about. But like, again, with some of like the measurements of things or like names for things, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, you haven't told me. And I get that there's a glossary. I shouldn't have to flip to the glossary. That should just be if my brain forgets. Like, if you should include context like in your writing for what this thing is, so I don't have to like really try to figure it out. Like even the names of like all the different types of magic users, they would mention it before you saw them, and then you're like, what is that? So you didn't know that like whatever some of the words were meant like basically earthbenders or like airbenders or whatever.
I referenced them as the airbenders have arrived with a tornado.
Yes, I mean that's really what it was. We have bloodbending, we have all of it. So like, but they would use those words before they're like before you know that that's what that means. Like I don't even fully know what was it like Numu versus they had like words for like the warriors versus like the workers versus something else. And I was like, I don't know what all this is. Like it didn't so I would just start like skimming over it because I didn't know what it was supposed to be. So, I
like
still fully can't picture it in my head.
Yeah, someone said in the chat that they're very character driven, which is why they liked this. And I will say like that was the one strength was like the characters themselves were great. It's just that I didn't understand how they related to each other in any way apart from when they were related to each other literally.
Yeah, so we're getting at the world stuff first. We will talk about the characters. But I say like that's where I struggle with this because I think the world part of it, granted it was a part of a bigger series, whatever, people can make an argument about that. It's advertised as a standalone. It's not written like a standalone. And like the world building was messy. This deeply needed an editor, like so much, you know, like even with it being like there's potential there of this could be a really cool world that I could actually deeply understand. I'm a fantasy and sci-fi reader. It's not that I'm not used to this. It's not too complex for me. It's like not written well. So that part was where like it was on the lower end for me. But yeah, let's talk about the characters since that was the highlight, I would say. So we're just gonna kind of go down the line. So we'll start with our like two main characters. So we'll start with who we see first, which is Mamoru, the son, the like 14, 15-year-old son. So what were your guys' feelings and thoughts about him?
I can't believe he died.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, no, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just gonna put that out there, but like I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, but I'm also kind of like low-key glad he died. like I don't know. I started liking him like right kind of before he died. And it's very funny that like now we've had two series that are these like very character-driven. It's one of those like, if I had a nickel for every time this happened, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that's happened twice. That we've had 2 book club books that are like very politically driven Asian-inspired fantasies where a main character that's a POV character dies.
I'm sorry if I spoiled something.
No, Nicole, no, this is a spoilery chat.
Okay, I was like, Holly, I'm so sorry.
No,
yes,
all of our live shows are.
Yeah, that's
my
thought. That's my thought. Okay.
Nicole, that's your bad, not ours. So yeah. So yeah, the fact that he died is like, what? But it was kind of like actually cool to have that like, I don't know, that sort of back and forth. And like the part where I was like, oh, with him was when they were like, he finally did the Whispering Blade at the very end.
I know.
And they're like, you know, Hero is going to be the youngest, but what they didn't know is
no
like,
one's gonna know.
He was the second youngest. Yeah.
Is that,
that was really sweet.
Yes.
I didn't even know that. Like, I didn't realize I was listening to it, obviously. So I was like doing something else at the time when I was listening, and like it's the middle of the battle. This battle's been going on for like 4 hours at this point in my audiobook. I'm like halfway tuned out, hoping he does well. And then his hand, like when his hand gets cut off and he starts bleeding, I was like, oh no, he's not coming back. There's no way you come back from this. And then when he said, like when he mentioned that he was like one with the entire like mountain or whatever, I was like, at least my baby is going out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This way. But I did like he was a little insufferable in the beginning, but like I didn't mind him as like a POV. I thought it was interesting to like see him struggle figuring out like everything he's been taught is fake while his mom already obviously knows this. So I feel like we needed that a little bit I say we needed that. It was supposed to deliver like some of the crucial world building that we needed, but didn't quite fully deliver all the time.
Yeah. At the beginning I found him just like a little bit insufferable. Or just like, I don't know, I just have a hard time with like teenage characters in general in like adult books because they're like, they're being so dumb. And you're like, yeah, but you're a teenager and you're dumb. But like, he would do all these things and he would keep saying like, why did I do that? And you're like, I don't know, man. Why did you do that? You know, or he's like mouthing off to dad who's going to beat the shit out of him. And you're like, my God, like, stop. Like, you know? But yeah, or just like the sense of denial and some of that. But like, yeah, as soon as the guy that came out of the ice dragon came back, I was like, oh, this kid's dead.
Yeah.
There's no way.
I love when his mom was like, read the room, buddy.
Right, literally. She's like, are you stupid? Like, yeah. And the fact that like there were some sweet things with him, like where they named his sword after as like the defender or whatever, and yeah, that was sweet. Okay, so Mom, Mizaki. Thoughts?
I would have read the entire story from the POV. I would have read a whole story that was her backstory.
Yeah.
It was the highlight of this book for sure.
Yes.
I also like the glimpses that we got into the past. Like I like alternating like timeline stuff, so I thought that was one of the stronger points too.
Yeah, and I never felt like it was like, oh gosh, let's get us back to the main point, or let's not do this. Like I really liked her. So
yeah, I feel like she had. The reason I would read from her perspective is because she had all the information that we were desperately needing sometimes, where she was explaining all the different types of people because she had met them in her life in the past. And I liked her transition to like be from being like the meek person in the beginning to fully being like, I'm gonna kick everyone's ass, and my husband isn't gonna stop me anymore. And then he gets into her because she's being so defiant. In the end, it was very funny. It was a very funny.
Yeah, I also, before Mamoru died, I was like, why is it just not her POV like the whole time? Because again, I think it's okay that we had his POV. I wasn't like super pissed at it, but I'm also kind of a little bit like, why? Like all the stuff that we kind of saw, we probably could have seen through her or had some kind of, I don't know. I feel like it still could be written from her perspective. But yeah, then when we got to just be like fully in her head the entire time, I was like, okay.
I also really appreciate that like she had conflicting thoughts about motherhood and things like that, even after having 4 children and some miscarriages. Like you don't really see that complexity sometimes in these types of stories. So I really appreciated that too.
Yeah, her POV definitely had like the most depth, obviously, because she was like grown, so she lived a life and was able to like have space for the conflicting thoughts and to consider like why everything isn't exactly what it is versus like the teenage kid that hasn't learned anything at all. He was like a very simple POV where it was like he's learning that the world actually isn't the way he thinks it is and people are bad, and also he's fighting for the like majority of his POV versus her having to struggle with what she needs to do.
Yeah. I also really love a character that like left their past behind and hides their weapons somewhere. Like the trope of that, and then having to like go and get it and retake up arms is such like a fantasy trope that I really like. So as soon as she's like, my sword, that like legendary glass is hiding in the kitchen, I'm just like, hell yeah. Can't wait till you go get that girl. Like I am so excited. So yeah, what about like her powers and her like family history of like the water, you know, sort of bloodbending? Kayla, how did you feel about the bloodbending?
I mean, I always like elemental magic, let's be honest. And they didn't need a full moon to do it, so no, I thought it was actually really interesting and well done, and I kind of wanted more, obviously. But about her family relations, I appreciate that her dad was like, yeah, you can do what you want, but I won't like agree with it or whatever. There seemed to be like a type of freedom there that obviously the culture that she's in now, there's no freedom obviously for women to choose and do things. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that conflict of like her being from this sort of like noble house and like him sending her away to school and giving her all the sword training, and then is like, but you're gonna be a wife. I'm like, dude, but that like conflict of like, he still was like, no, you get to decide, but like kind of not, because it's like, well, if you decide, then you're not going to be like a part of the family or whatever. But the one thing I did have no trouble picturing was like their family home that was on the side of the mountain, like that would like weather all the storms. I was like, that's so cool. Like, why don't we get to see more of like some of these places instead of like just the ice mountain and like that one town that she was in her like past or whatever. But yeah, I thought that like her coming from that family that has some of this like fabled blood puppeteer or whatever, like I found like that blood needle thing that she did to be possibly way cooler than even like Whispering Blade or whatever. I was like, that's much more effective. I mean, I guess you could get close, but like
when she the arm
when she
thing
does
with
her
her
husband.
I was like, yes.
Thinking of that.
Yes.
I was like, yes.
That was sick. And then at the end, when she's also able to do the puppeteering a little bit with Robin's hand as well, was really interesting. I feel like that was like the actual, and again, it's like there's all these little pieces that I'm like, I wish we could have spent more time being told about these things versus what we were focused on in this story. Like the ice magic was cool, but there was other cool magic on the side that I also was very interested in.
And exactly like how powerful she is, or like even a lot of them. Like there was the Dai, the like lightning, they call him like lightning Dai or whatever, the guy who's like super fast. It's like, okay, well, did he have some other kinds of ability? Like there's just more things, and just focusing on the one family, you know, it for a story that made itself so broad already, it's like, why are you focusing on some of these other things when there's other cooler things you could be doing? Which is kind of annoying. So you guys kind of started to mention it, but her dynamic with her husband and just like her husband in general. So Takaru, I think is how you pronounce it. Again, I didn't have the audiobook. But what were your feelings about him? That was a conflicting character.
well, I hated him for a while, and then
Yeah.
now
I
I'm
feel like
like, okay, it was on purpose the whole time. Like, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, Paige. Go ahead.
oh no, I froze, so I didn't realize.
Oh,
I agree
we
completely that
lost her.
he just
Am I frozen?
you just
No, you're good.
I'm frozen.
No,
Okay.
you're no.
Hang on.
Kayla, you're not frozen for us.
Kayla, you're good. You're good.
Kayla, can you see us? Oh no. Okay, now she's frozen.
No,
Okay.
it was Kayla.
Okay. Maybe
I was
maybe the
gonna say
Wi-Fi
that,
just
like,
went down.
yeah, his 360 was a little too fast for me.
Yeah.
Where like he immediately was like, I was just dissociating basically the entire time into the mountain, and therefore that's why I was so icy cold. I feel like he got let off a little too quickly versus like with everything he did, especially when he was like beating on Mamoru at like when they were having that duel, and he like Misaki thought that he was gonna kill him. Like that was a very tense scene. I did stop what I was doing to fully listen to it because I was like, oh shit, like shit's going down right now. But yeah, like I feel like there was trying to be some kind of depth there with like the whole like dissociation element of it, but it just felt like this man just wasn't present for most of his life, and now he's suddenly present, and we're supposed to forgive him for everything that he did for the first like 20 hours of audio.
Yeah. That's also a part where I'm really conflicted because I think that scene, like the chapter 27 when they have their duel, was so good. Like that was like, oh, that was like the best part of the book, honestly, because like there was so much covered as far as like this relationship and like her being like, you have to step it up and you have to like cut this uncuttable sword in order to prove that you're gonna like do it. So like I kind of like that like symbolism there, and how he was like, I was always like just associating in the mountain, and like I, which was like a trauma response to him being like beat as a kid. Like all of that was good. And when we got that little part that was like his POV where he was like, I almost felt like I didn't deserve her and like I didn't want to hurt her and all this stuff. But then I'm like, but then you were also like a misogynistic ass to her all the time.
Yeah.
So like, but then as their relationship developed post-fight, I kind of liked like that sweetness that they were like occasionally they'd be like, well, I'm just gonna give him a kiss. Like I'm starting to like him like more like, and all of that happens over a long period of time actually, because like that like months are occurring between like the big battle and like the end of the book. So it is slower burn, but there also just like wasn't quite enough time.
I think that's the problem. It's like there wasn't enough time to feel it. It feels like it felt rushed because like time had passed, but like it didn't feel that when you were reading it that the time had actually passed because it was such a short period of the book.
Yeah, you like aren't really sure how much time exactly is passing
until they were like, months have passed. Yeah,
and where she's like, I'm excited to fight with him now. Like I don't know, all of those things were like good in my opinion, and how he like really like starts to step it up, and you're like, oh, so this whole time was just like, again, it was like he was trapped in his own head and running from his feelings, and now he's having to feel them, and he's like not the worst, because I was like, you need to kill this man. This man is the worst. Like he sucks so bad. And then like that, to have my opinion change, not a 180, but like pretty drastically to where I'm like, oh yeah, like he's actually truly putting the work in and trying, and so I don't hate him now. That I think that takes a certain level of skill to turn the direction that much.
Kayla, you've returned to us.
Yeah, Kayla, did you?
Yeah, I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know what happened there. I'm on my phone now. But yeah, I also had like some more thoughts. Obviously, he was literally the worst until he wasn't, and then at the same time, I was just like, but there was no reason to be a dick. You know what I'm saying? Like, I agree, Sam. So I'm a little conflicted, but at the same time, I'm happy that like the way their story ended up. So yeah.
How'd you feel about the rest of the family as far as the kids? So Hiroshi, Izumu, and I didn't write the other one out. I think it was Nagasa. Nagasi. Let's see if I can find him in the wiki because there's a giant. Yeah, Nagasa. I think is how you pronounce it.
He was so cute, like how talkative he was.
I know.
Yes, that was very cute.
Or like I got
Hero
really
was an
sad when he was the one.
interesting,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh, no. Hero was like an interesting
Yeah.
character as a child because I'm scared of him now. I'm like,
Yes.
see, like the little kids, I'm like, I want to see you as an older character now because I want to see how you turn out. Considering
Yeah.
like his dad changes, so like, is that going to impact who he is, or is he just like already set in his way from like 4 years old? Because it like when he's like introduced to Robin's kid as well, like his reaction to
He's like, no.
he's like, do not touch me, like you're weird. So I am curious. I want to see him specifically as an older character. I would carry on if he was a character in a different book just to see what becomes of him because he's supposed to be like super powerful as well, and like his first whispering blade and all of that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think honestly, like following those 3 kids as older kids or adults would be kind of cool. Like all of them, because I think like even like Hero was cool. Apparently it's Nagisa, that's how I pronounce it. Was like super cute, and then like Zumo with like being different, like not being like as cold and like being much more.
I was curious about that. Yeah.
I think would be an interesting. Because for a second I was like, is that not Takeru's kid? Like why is he so? Why do we keep pointing out how different that like that infant is? But I think their dynamics are going to be like really interesting as they get older too. Not that I would necessarily like. I say, oh, it'd be cool to. I don't know if I would read another book. Like
it would have to be like a short story, a novella.
Yeah, novella. Or like
novella.
This is an author that I think if they got picked up by a traditional publisher, not that traditional publishing doesn't have problems, but like had a team, had an editor that they actually could listen to and was like, here, chop some of this up, like whatever. I think it could be really strong. Like I think like the foundation is there. I'm just not sure if I would read more like self-published work necessarily. As far as other Kayla. She's gone again. As far as other family members, Takashi and Setsuko, how do we feel?
I told you before, Setsuko was my favorite part of this book.
She's great.
I feel like she was like the comedic relief that you needed in certain moments where she just came in. She was like so warm and like friendly compared to everyone else. That obviously made her stand out as a character. So I loved everything that she was in, especially toward the end when she was like with the kids and she was like, "You're so weird. Come back, little weird one." Like I just loved her as a character. She was so sweet. And like, I feel like her like arc as well, where like she's literally the last person left in her entire family, and yet she's still able to have that like essence of like kindness in her is like a really sweet like message in the story too.
Kayla, we're talking about Takashi and Setsuko.
I'm sorry.
Takashi and Setsuko, so the uncle and the like fisher wife. She's from the fishing family.
Sorry guys, about the technical difficulties here.
You're good. Thoughts about them?
Oh, I'm sorry. So you mean the family that I was at the bottom of the mountain when they fell?
So the uncle, like the.
Oh no, yeah, okay, I know exactly who you're talking about. I loved her. I thought she was very buoyant. Her personality was a breath of fresh air, kind of in this world. Especially how like brazen she was a couple times. Gasp, clutching pearls or whatever. And they seemed to be genuinely in love. So that was also heartbreaking because of what happened to him. So yeah.
The moment that she says like later, where I don't know, her and Mizaki are talking, and she's like, my husband loved like battle and stuff more than anything else. Like I knew I wasn't gonna get like, all of him because like, I'm actually okay with the way that he went out. Like that's what he wanted instead of being here necessarily with me. Like he would never be happy being the one that like came back to save us or whatever. So yeah, I thought that was like very sweet. And yeah, just her like little affectionate nicknames for everyone. Like she's always like, "Hey, pretty girl," or like the trio of them, like the 3 women that would like hang out, was just very sweet. Like
I love how she called her little sister, even though she was older.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. It was very funny. Okay, and who are so in the little friend group, Hiyori, which is the woman that was Dai's wife.
Yeah. Just a tragic story overall. I feel like we didn't get a lot of time with like her as like a character and personality wise. Like she didn't stand out as much as like Sasuko did, but like her arc was really sad to read about because obviously you knew like what she mentally would have been dealing with, knowing like she was like carrying this kid. That was a reminder of like, the worst day of her life where she lost everyone. So like that was a really sad element to read.
Yeah. I was like, they're not going to go this direction, are they? And then they did. And I was like, no. It goes like, maybe it will just be like his baby and she'll have hope again. And then, no.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but like sometimes the story felt like very like upper YA, and then sometimes it felt adult, and that was definitely one of the more obviously like adult elements or whatever. Like even the violence I felt like didn't really dive hard into the violence or anything like that. So I was kind of surprised and taken aback by what happened.
I never felt like it really felt like upper YA to me, but I can see like I can understand you saying that, but like it definitely, I think because of just how dumpy the world building was, my brain was never like this is YA because like I don't know, YA just doesn't dump in that way to me. But yeah, no, there was definitely elements where like the I don't know, like some of the fantasy battle elements were much more lighter feeling because they're dying in these like magical ways than some of the other books that I've read that have been like very gory and grim.
Obviously, I don't mean that as an insult or anything. I'm just saying.
No, I know.
Yeah, tonal shifts or whatever.
Yeah, no, totally. Speaking of tonal shifts, we talked about the flashbacks and stuff, but how do we feel about like particularly Robin and the flashbacks to him / when we saw him at the end?
Listen, I'm a Zuko and Katara shipper. I needed more of that. I could read a novella about them.
It did give that energy, like for real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that, like you, Kayla, saying like it sometimes felt YA. I feel like the flashbacks were like as close to like that style of writing, which is like very common, where like there's like the romantic subplot, they're fighting the evil guys, like that element of it, which is probably why I enjoyed it because it's like my brain can rest for these like past chapters, and I don't have to worry about trying to figure out the world building. But I enjoyed those chapters. I liked that he came back for a little bit, even though I was like, bestie, it's been like 50 million years, let him go. Focus on your new man who is finally coming around. And like I didn't think they were ever like, I didn't think there was going to be like any kind of like straying or whatever toward the end, but it was cool to see like his shift as well and how he was like struggling with his like very like do-gooder, like everyone has good in them energy. Like he actually was struggling with that as well, and they were able to like, I like that she was like, when we come back, let's be a little older, let's be a little bit wiser the next time we meet each other. I was like, that was very sweet. Everything good was at the end of this book, basically.
Yeah, I would say the last half was like way stronger than the first half. Like the last third was like the strongest part, in my opinion. The thing that like I liked their interactions and the fact that she was like, I love them both in like different ways, and that doesn't mean that I'm gonna like leave my husband for him, but like there's always gonna be love there. But the thing that was irritating about his like the chapter that he pops up in is like that's where there's a bunch of like plot elements that are dropped in of like who's this assassin and like you know what is like they I think this person killed my wife and da 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 da, and then it's just like and bye, and like no, again for a standalone that's not like you can tell that you're then tying it back into larger world stuff, and like this is supposed to be a standalone. So there was just too many things. Like I'm even kind of like plot wise, like what is the emperor doing exactly? Like what does he have to gain here? What I still don't quite know all of the like sort of political machinations and why everyone's sort of doing what they're doing a little bit, which was also just kind of frustrating because it kept getting mentioned. So it was like, why are you talking about this if this is just supposed to be like this very closed like slice of life from this family that got impacted by this big battle? Why are you telling us all this stuff? So.
Indeed.
Okay. Any other characters that we haven't talked about that you want to reference or to talk about.
Did we talk about his friend? What was his name?
Quang?
Quang. Yeah, Quang. Huang. Did we talk about him?
No.
No.
I just thought. Did you think their friendship was too quick or not? Yeah.
I mean, I guess they survived like a near-death experience together, which brings people together quickly. Yeah. But that was another moment where it's like, I get the kids are stupid, but it's like, why do you keep telling this guy who keeps trying to beat you up about like the fact that all this is propaganda? Like his brain is not ready to handle that, my guy. Like, stop doing that. But yeah, that best friendship was like a little bit, but that's what kids do though.
Yeah.
So I wasn't like necessarily shocked.
I enjoyed his character. I think he. I don't want to say he served his purpose well, but he, opened his eyes a little bit, obviously. So, and then he kind of just went MIA a little bit there in the middle. I don't know. He wasn't very.
I mean, he wasn't a fighter, so they couldn't do anything with him.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like city boy.
Yeah.
And then it was also like, well, then why did the city boy get sent? I mean, I guess they were like building the comm towers, whatever. But it's like, why is he at the like magician school if like he can't do magic? I don't know.
Yeah,
like a little excessive. I did really like the like blacksmith family stuff, like the master swordsman, and how like they really respected them as being like masters of their craft. I thought that was really cool. And like when he wasn't like, I thought that one, like the blacksmith dad like died, right? And then they find him and he's like lost a leg or whatever. But I was like, oh, good, because I really liked him. And his little like son was like so sad that he was going to die. So yeah, that was sweet. I think those are all the majorly named characters. Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts about like plot and stuff? Anything that we haven't touched on? Also, anyone in chat, if you have any comments to make about plot or anything before we wrap up.
Yeah, I feel like we've said it all. The last third was the best part of this book. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah.
It was a lot easier to listen to that last third than it was to listen to the first 2/3 of it. I feel like I went into it thinking it was going to be a lot less like world heavy than it was, just because the writing was it was like deceivingly simple in the first couple chapters, because we're in the kids' perspective, so it's like simpler writing. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a breeze, even though it's 600 pages, and I was incorrect. But I did keep listening to it and was enjoying it while I was listening to it. So it was some kind of magic where it was long to read, like, but I didn't mind it in the end. Like, it was worth it.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, that's basically my gist too.
Yeah.
I think this is a book where the potentially like the hype around it maybe set expectations a little weird for my brain. I know that's not quite the book's fault necessarily. I do think it's the book's fault that it's advertised as a standalone, and it's definitely not. Like, that is inherently the book's fault. But I think whenever people talk about, they're like, it's a military fantasy, blah blah. I'm like, it has military fantasy elements. I wouldn't straight up call it military fantasy. This is very much like you're following one family, very character driven. Like, military fantasy is not character driven to me. Like, those are two different things. So I think the way that it's like described is it's a standalone and it's this award winner, and I'm just like, I don't know. It made my standards like really high, so that when ran into a lot of these problems where it was like a little bit too wordy and needed some editing and whatever, I was just like, I wasn't expecting this. And I think I also, like, someone talked about the mom like going on a almost like it's the mom's sort of quest after something happens to her kid. I feel like someone dropped that into a description at one point. And so the whole time I'm like, why are we following this kid? I thought that she was supposed to have a kid that died. So like it set up this like, we're following this one character that's supposed to be this like, vengeful mom or whatever. And then like it wasn't that. So like the ways that it has been talked about over the last couple of years, I feel like made it so that I didn't necessarily enjoy it as much. But this also hadn't been talked about, I would have never read it, because I don't tend to just read random high fantasy self-published books. So, double-edged sword. Okay. Final ratings now that we've discussed it. Where do you guys think that you sit?
I'm still going to say 3 for now. I feel okay about that.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with mine, my 2. Yeah.
That's fair. Okay. All right. Drum roll. So with that in mind, also, Mari, I think, said that she was sitting at a 3 when she was reading it as well. So agreed that of us that have read it. Now we're doing our next 3 months of picks, with tragically half of the book club missing. Mari's here. but
Here.
2 other people are not. So hopefully in the future, everyone will be here for votes or putting in our picks. So what we're going to do is I have everyone's picks that isn't here live. I don't know. Mari, did you want to join us for... I know you're here, but you're not on screen. Did you want to join us with the... Oh, sorry, I just lost the chat.
Like audio?
Camera off, or do you want to just be in the chat? Angel. I know that you're not feeling well, but I would love to have your live reaction to whatever is picked.
I'll stay in the chat.
Okay. You're feeling real snotty still. Okay, so I have everyone's picks. So I have everyone. What I'm going to do is I have everyone. I gave everyone a number, and I'm just going to pop up a random number generator to see who.
Let's do it.
Who does it? So, and I might do a share screen so that you guys get to
do it. Spicy.
So we're doing 1 through 6, and it hasn't gone yet. Let me see. Present. Are you guys going to see every single share screen? Oh God, I hate it. Okay.
We're about to see how many tabs Sam has open on a regular
8 bajillion, and this is only on one screen. Okay, so we're going to generate 1 through 6. Okay. Okay, 1. So this is Mari. So she did say for April that she wanted The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Cassandra Broadbent, which I'm also currently reading. So far started. So that's going to be April pick, which is a self-published book. It's available on Kindle Unlimited.
Nice.
Or Carissa Broadbent. Sorry, I didn't have the things written down.
Look at the capital letters.
Sorry, Carissa Broadbent. But this is a first book in a romantasy series. I don't know why Mari picked this. Mari, you're gonna hate this. Why are we reading this?
I'm excited now.
In the chat?
This sounds like my tea. Let's go.
I'm reading it because I think it's gonna potentially be. I'm doing a Kindle Unlimited reading vlog, and it's on there because it's one of the, very talked about. I yelled when you said Mari. Sorry. But yeah, why are you reading this? Okay,
it's the most hyped TikTok book. Okay.
Yeah, it is. Which is also one of the reasons I'm reading it for the Kindle Unlimited. But
oh boy.
I think some of us might have fun with it, and I'm only like 10%.
I think I will have fun with it, maybe.
Fingers
crossed.
You might. It's like a vampire world.
Ooh,
there's vampires.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So that's April. Yay. Okay. Let's do another one. Let's see. So, 3. Jordana. Okay.
How is everyone who is here getting selected?
Wow.
I know. I don't know which one she wanted. Should I just do it in the order that she put them in there?
Just do it in order, yeah.
Okay. I don't even know what this is. All she said was Finlay Donovan is killing it. I don't know who that's by.
Sounds familiar.
Finlay Donovan. By L. Rosimano. Finlay Donnelly is killing it. Debut novel for adults. Contemporary mystery series? Jordana, what is this?
Jordana.
Interesting. Oh no, this looking at the cover, this makes sense for Jordan.
Yeah, one of the best. It says one of the best thrillers for 2021.
Julia's comment is killing me. In fact, it is a negative. Yes, you're so right for that.
It's a mystery. Okay, fun. Okay, so that's May.
Cool. Okay, I can't be angry at either of these, even though my choice is languishing.
It's okay. Let's see who it's gonna be. Let's see who it's gonna be. Paige.
Yes.
You're number 5. Yeah,
y'all are gonna hate me. Y'all are gonna hate me. We are reading Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead.
No, we're not. Paige.
Yeah, we are, bestie.
Oh my god.
Yes, we
Oh my
are.
god.
Oh, my birthday month as well. This is a gift for me.
Oh my god.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you for the support.
So we have 2 vampire books and this is the most random selection.
Oh my
We have
god.
2 vampire books and a like witty
Maddie, I
mysteries.
knew you were gonna react
Page
that way.
religion. I mean, it's gonna be a lot like the selection was, right? Like
Yeah,
that's what
exactly.
it's gonna be.
That's what I come with. I come with the nostalgia factor books that are going to be absolutely trash, but I will fight to the death for them. Good luck.
I'm so worried.
See, people are
about
like,
this.
the live show's going to be fire, and you're right. Exactly.
I DNF'd that
entertainment.
a decade ago. Oh my god. Maddie, it'll make for good content.
It will. Think of the content, Maddie.
Kindle Unlimited?
Maybe. I own the
all
books
of
because
these
we
might be
published
Kindle
one.
Unlimited. Page stop. Okay, no, it's not.
What was the first book? The Serpent and the Wings of Night, is that right?
Yeah, The Serpent and the Wings of Night by
Wings of Night, Carissa Broadbent. Wow.
It's very
I'm actually
popular
so
among
excited.
the Sarah J. Maas fans.
Oh,
Every June
maybe a
book
little bit
pick
less
should be a
excited.
fresh fire nostalgia book.
Yes,
like
you are so right, Brittany.
Might have been the selection. That might have been the selection pick that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't wait. I had a good choice too. The thing is, I had a quality pick that y'all would have loved, and I went with the chaos.
I'm nervous.
I'll tell you in June what my other pick would have been, and you'll be right when you read this.
Kayla, what were your potential picks, or do you want to save them for the next time that we?
I was totally gonna pick Uglies by Scott Westerfeld, so like kind of on the same, kind of the same lines as Paige, and then I was praying that I only got picked once because I only had that written down.
My potential options were The Adventures of Amina El-Sharafi, Thistlefoot,
nice,
or Daughter of the Moon Goddess.
Ooh, I've been seeing that one around.
Well, too bad I didn't get picked. So.
I know. Well, there's always
there's always next time. If I haven't read those by then, they might pop up in the next.
Oh no, I've been keeping mine, like the ones that I have here. I've been keeping for specifically potential book club reads. So I'm excited for the next 3 months. This is gonna be great.
You know, I don't know if excited is the word I would use. But like, I mean, Jordan did pick the best book of the last quarter.
She did.
So I'm gonna have some faith, but I literally never read thrillers.
I was also gonna suggest that we all watch Daisy Jones and the Six and then talk about it.
Already did, Bestie. Been there, done that. We can talk. We can talk about it.
I watched it
every day.
I watched it twice, but I would like to talk about it.
We definitely can talk about it.
I mean, I want to watch it, but I need motivation to do so. So if we make it a thing,
watch it for the next live show, and at the end we discuss Daisy Jones and the Six.
Just randomly after The Serpent and the Wings of Night, we randomly talk about Daisy Jones and the Six. Oh my god.
That is the quality content people are coming for.
I'm glad that you guys are all supporting House Salt in the chaos right now. All right, cool. It's going to be an interesting spring.
Yeah, let's go.
Amazing. All right. Not a special episode of House Salt. Amazing. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us. The live show for The Serpent and the Wings of Night. It's such a long title and for no reason. Will likely be since the last Sunday of the month is the very, very end of the month, we will hopefully stick to the last Sunday of this month. So fingers crossed.
I just had an idea before we go off. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes film is coming out at the end of this year, and we have read the book collectively. Do we do a reunion to discuss the adaptation? I'm just throwing that out there. Let the people decide.
We probably should.
Be a live show.
We probably should.
I'm having PTSD flashbacks to that June.
I know. I don't like it, but I will probably watch it.
The cast is, but no.
I know.
Yeah.
I think we should do
that. We have to. I mean,
it's gonna be painful.
Also, can't wait for that. I'm here for the chaos only, I think.
Yes, I mean, generally speaking, those lives are really fun when when it's chaos. So that makes sense. Awesome. Okay. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be announcing when we're gonna do the live. So we'll be seeing you later on this month. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.